Call of Duty Mobile. I went into this game without any real expectations. I saw some people talking about it on Facebook and I figured, well, that looks sorta interesting maybe. It's probably loot boxy as fuck though. And here's the thing, it does have that freemium loot box aesthetic, but it's also kinda good. Pretty good actually.
This works as well, and maybe even a bit better than anyone should ever expect from a Call of Duty game on a mobile phone. There are two control schemes, and both work pretty good within the context of using a touchscreen in such a frantic and fast-paced game. I tend to stick to the simple control scheme, it works a lot better for me. One of the choices that the developers made that makes this particular mobile shooter work very well is the choice to remove a dedicated button for firing your weapon. You pretty much just aim down your sights and the game does the shooting for you. Now that might sound a little bit lame to some of you, but as someone who played a fair amount of Call of Duty Online, I must say that 2 games in, I didn't really notice it anymore. Like, at all. I got used to it pretty quickly. And the same thing applies to moving your character around. It's never going to be as tight as a console counterpart that should be expected, but it's really not bad. I really have to tip my beanie to Activision here. They made it work, and they made it work as well as you could possibly expect. The touchscreen controls do bring out one particular balance issue though, the sniper rifle. It tends to be a little bit overpowered in this scenario. It's a little bit too easy to just stay at a distance that's relatively safe and pick off your enemies, because you don't really have to worry about moving around that much. Again, all things considered, this game controls pretty well, but moving around and aiming is a lot harder than just standing still and aiming. The auto-fire mode of the game also has a hard time detecting snipers as targets because most of the time they're just too far away. That said, it's not a completely lopsided game or anything. I switched to using a shotgun a couple of rounds in because I felt like I was raking in kills the cheap and easy way, and it was still a pretty satisfying experience. So it's not a game-breaking issue, just something to keep in mind when you choose your loadout. This game looks great. If you consider how Call of Duty looked on the last gen platforms, this is really not that far off. I mean, Nuketown kinda looked like Nuketown to me. A little less polished maybe, but it retains that classic Call of Duty graphical style. We're talking about mobile fucking phones here. Mobile gaming is really catching on. It seems like the game's also quite scalable. My phone, a mid-ranger from 2017, is far from a flagship phone, but the game was totally playable. And yeah, the graphics were pretty much locked on the lowest settings in almost every single way, but the frame rate, which is the important part in a game like this, let's be real, was stable. It might not have been a locked 60 frames per second, but I don't think it ever dipped under 45 either. Some of the death animations and such looked like crap, but it seems like a fair trade-off. Please take the graphics of this video with a grain of salt. This game is gonna look way better on an iPhone 11, that's just guaranteed. It might become a problem, it's Activision after all. I've spent somewhere around 4 hours with this game so far, so it's a little bit too soon to say something constructive about it. But I think you can unlock better guns and perks, and that does influence the gameplay. And given the fact that that works with sort of a Call of Duty coin system, the easiest way to do so is probably going to be to fork out some cash. Again, this is Activision, the studio that changed Crash Nitro Kart way the fuck up after the fact, and that's a game that you actually have to pay for in the first place. I think it would be a shame if they make it a pay-to-win game though, because I really like what they accomplished from a technical point of view.
I like this game. I really do. It gets the blood flowing the same way as a lot of the other Call of Duty titles do. At one moment that really defined it for me was when I killed this dude and he started to insult me through the voice chat with like a super thick accent. He was like, fuck your mother, fuck your sister, fuck your entire family. So I muted him and I smiled and thought to myself, wow, mobile gaming is really coming into its own. So Activision, I tip my beanie for you for now. Please, don't fuck this up.